Welcome back to a new deep dive.
Hmm.
This is where we take the sources you shared and really unpack the most interesting bits. We do the digging so you get the insights.
And today, we're diving into a mission well, it's all about performing acts for the greater good, specifically for vulnerable children.
We've got some interesting materials here. There's an article about someone called ABJ, the Esthering Queen, some podcast transcripts, and a note from a website.
Right, so our goal today is pretty focused. Explore this idea of estering based on these sources, get a handle on the vision for the Esthering podcast, and importantly, understand how this virtual run walk fits into everything.
Exactly. And just a reminder, we're sticking strictly to what's in these documents. No outside info.
Okay, let's jump in then.
All right, so unpacking this. At the very center seems to be this person, ABJ. The article calls her the Esthering Queen, Adrianne B. Jackson. And she sounds like a really passionate advocate for kids in foster care.
Yeah, and that title, Esthering Queen, it's not just, a handle. The sources frame it as someone feeling like called to rise up for such a time as this.
Serving the community, it says, with faith and fierce compassion.
Which brings us to estering itself. What is it? The sources define the company, Esthering 4GG LLC, as meaning performing acts for the greater good.
And it specifically calls out vulnerable populations, especially foster children.
Yeah.
It's positioned as, well, more than just a brand, like a lifestyle, a movement.
Exactly. And the name itself, Esthering, has this cool dual origin according to the materials. It's inspired by Queen Esther from the Bible, obviously known for courage.
Right.
But also, and this feels really personal, it's inspired by her love for her grandmother. Her grandmother's name was Esther.
Oh, wow.
So it blends, historical strength with this deep family connection. The sources talk about it as a mindset, resilience, courage, compassion, commitment, standing in the gap.
And that makes a lot of sense when you read about her own background. It mentions she actually grew up with foster kids in her home.
Yeah.
And her parents were house parents at a juvenile delinquent home. So they were creating that safe space, that lived experience. It must be a huge driver.
Absolutely. It's clearly not just the theoretical for her. It's baked into her history.
So how did this message get out there? Well, a big piece highlighted in the sources is the Esthering Podcast.
Right, the podcast. Described as a platform for storytelling and advocacy. The tagline is, where what you've been through matters.
I like that.
Yeah. ABJ apparently uses it to share her own journey, interview others making a difference, and just bring awareness to, foster care realities, policy stuff, personal growth.
The mission stated is basically to heal, inform, and inspire. Simple but powerful.
And reading the transcript excerpts, you do get a feel for her style. It's described as bold, heartfelt. She seems really curious.
Yeah, and she's open about, wanting to get better podcasting, even using new tech like AI voice cloning, Descript is mentioned.
Embracing that raw and uncut feel, it says, seems authentic.
And the sources kind of explain why a podcast works for this. She mentioned something like, in everyday chat, nobody really wants to hear your past over and over again.
Right. It can be heavy.
But a podcast gives it a dedicated space, a place for those stories, like from former foster kids she wants to interview, to actually be heard and valued.
Makes sense. And it's accessible too, right? YouTube, Spotify, Patreon are mentioned.
Yeah, seems they want people to find it easily. And they encourage liking, subscribing, commenting, building that community.
Connection through story. It's a common thread.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit.
Yeah.
From the podcast platform to, direct action, the sources talk about this new monthly virtual 5K run walk.
Ah, yes, the Run for Resilience, the Esthering 4GG Club. It's mentioned as being on Strava. This sounds like the real tangible doing part.
So how does it work? It's a monthly challenge, right? People log miles.
Yeah, towards a huge collective goal, 100,000 miles, all for foster care awareness.
Wow, 100K miles.
Ambitious. The mechanics seem straightforward. Sign up. Donate, if you can, specifically noted to support local Atlanta foster care facilities. Then you walk or run on a set weekend each month.
And log it in the Strava Club.
Right. Plus, there's a limited edition t-shirt mentioned. Buying one also contributes to the donations.
And they want people posting pictures, using hashtags. Hashtag Estherings in these streets. Hashtag Run for Resilience. It's about visibility, making it seen.
Definitely building that active community vibe. But here's a really crucial point that the sources emphasize heavily.
Okay.
This run walk is specifically looking for sponsorships. It's in need of them.
Okay. For what purpose?
To fund scholarships and other critical assistance that foster care children need, the focus for where that money goes is specified: Fulton County and the wider metro Atlanta area.
Got it. So local impact for the funds?
Yes, but, and this is also key, the event itself, the participation, can happen nationwide. Anyone, anywhere can join the run walk, donate, or become a sponsor.
So it's a way for people across the country to support a specific local need in Atlanta.
Precisely. It connects a broad audience to a focused cause.
So if you're listening, the sources really position this as a direct chance for you to do something, to perform that act for the greater good.
To be estering in these streets, as the hashtag says. Whether you run, walk, donate, or maybe your company can sponsor, it's a clear call.
And looking at ABJ herself, there's this recurring theme in the sources about her striving to be successful, doing it all, no matter her age.
Right, and that personal drive is explicitly linked to the mission. Her background gives it context.
Yeah, I mentioned she's a 20-year Army veteran.
And then another 20 years as a civilian government contractor, working insane hours, like 127 overseas.
Places like Kuwait, Southwest Asia,
Yeah.
setting up warehouses, rising through the ranks because of her expertise. That's serious commitment.
Intense. And the sources actually mention her return to the U.S. in 2023 at age 60 wasn't easy. They use words like turmoil, even post-traumatic stress.
Oh, wow. After all those years overseas.
Yeah. And the sources frame it like the podcast, this renewed push for advocacy, kind of emerged from that difficult transition, fueled by maybe a desire for a different kind of freedom and that long-held passion for foster care.
So her current striving, it sounds like, is focused. Become a successful podcaster.
But why? To be a great advocate. That's the stated goal.
And the business, Esthering 4GG LLC, is being built specifically to earn money for that advocacy, to fund the work.
That's what the sources clearly state, yes. It's about resourcing the mission. Even her personal hopes mentioned, like a dream home or her son doing well, they sit alongside these deep hopes for foster children.
Like wanting more people to adopt or help raise them.
Exactly. And this broader hope that all saved people know God loves us all the same. Even a hope for world peace gets a mention. It shows the scale of her thinking.
It really paints a picture, doesn't it? Her personal journey, that resilience forged over decades, all channeling directly into this mission now.
Yeah, serving the greater good, focused on these kids, it's all deeply interwoven.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this deep dive up. We've unpacked Esthering performing acts for the greater good, especially for vulnerable kids, driven by Esthering 4GG LLC.
We looked at the Esthering Podcast as her platform for advocacy and telling stories, with that key theme where what you've been through matters.
And we explored the Run for Resilience virtual 5K. It's a tangible nationwide way for people to get involved, but critically, it needs sponsorships to fund scholarships and assistance for foster children, specifically in the Atlanta area.
Absolutely. At the heart of it all, the sources show us ABJ's mission. It's clearly fueled by her own pretty intense life experiences and this deep commitment.
Yeah, ensuring vulnerable kids feel safe, loved, special. And her brand efforts are fundamentally about becoming a powerful, resourced advocate for them.
So you've heard what the sources lay out about the mission, the podcast, the run, the need for donations, and especially sponsorships for that Atlanta area support.
The call to action presented here is pretty direct. Be Esthering. Find your way to perform acts for the greater good wherever you are.
And, considering her whole path, military, contracting, that tough return, now this focus on advocacy funded by her own brand, it does make you think, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, how does everything you've been through, all the parts of your story, shape your own unique way, maybe your own calling to serve the greater good? Something interesting to ponder.